my name is Ron Sanders, and I'm a public servant. I've served almost 40 years as a federal civil servant. That includes almost 2 years of unused sick leave, back when we could count that towards retirement, something I would not wish on anyone. 21 of those years was spent as a career senior executive, but along the way, I've earned 3 presidential rank awards in 3 different agencies, as well as an Innovations in American Government Award from Harvard. I won't bore you with the long resume, except to note that I also served as a political appointee in the first Trump administration until my unintentionally well-publicized resignation in 2020 over the issuance of Schedule F 1.0, before I finally sort of retired in 2022. I'm most pleased to help the Partnership for Public Service celebrate Public Service Recognition Week, in part because of the high value I place on that service. It's a calling like none other. I'll tell you a quick story about that in a moment. In one of the few jobs that actually requires us to take an oath, to raise our right hands and swear to defend the U.S. Constitution against all enemies. And that can get tricky these days. That's really important, however, something I take very seriously. An IRS commissioner I once worked for, Charles Rosati, one of my heroes, described it as one of the essential differences between what we do working in the private or nonprofit sectors. And I agree with him. That oath is also something that all of you who take it should never forget. Even those of you who may lose your jobs in the current chaos and carnage. I won't share my personal views in that regard. I am a professional after all, but I can harken back to when I was a few years younger. This was back in 1991 when I didn't have gray hair. And I had to stand up in front of several hundred shipyard workers. We were closing their facility at the time, and tell them, "Thank you for helping us win the Cold War, now goodbye." That's right, we had to lay them off as part of our search for the so-called peace dividend. But they'd done their duty, and they were proud of it. In my view, that's the essence of what we do. They could look at themselves in the mirror and tell themselves that they had done their duty. Public service is intrinsic, it's not extrinsic. That's the tangible rewards of serving in the public. They've never been high, nor will they ever be. The motivation to serve has to come from within, that is, intrinsically. My point, it's people like them that we should all emulate, even in today's turmoil. That turmoil is not unprecedented, and although this may be an extreme case, our public service will survive because of people like those shipyard workers and people like you. So whether you receive the pink slip or will survive the current chaos and carnage, do not despair, and above all, have no regrets. You've done the job, what the nation has asked us to do. And while those efforts may have been largely unsung amongst our fellow citizens, never forget that that's who we serve. We took an oath to do so, and you've lived up to it, even if it comes to sacrificing your jobs in the process. I once worked for John Glenn, another one of my heroes, when he was a senator from Ohio. And he used to say that when it came to public service, Americans had an expectation of excellence taken for granted. That is, when we do well, and that's not easy, no one cares. You only care when we screw up, but that's okay. That's what being a civil servant is all about. I've got lots more war stories, literally and figuratively, but again, I won't bore you with them. You have your own stories, and I would encourage you to tell them. But with a caveat, don't talk about the great public servants you've known, because the public, frankly, doesn't care. What they care about is being helped by us. So if you have stories about them, tell them. That's what my neighbors in Florida and elsewhere want to hear. Bottom line, you're all public servants. You swore to do your duty, no matter how personally distasteful or disruptive it may be. And so long as you can look at yourselves in the mirror and say that you did, then your conscience should be clear. Thanks.